previously on whatever this is. I gotta give the movie this, it does give us a far more believable portrayal of what a monarch with ultimate power would be like. Looking at you, every other Disney fairy tale pie-in-the-sky version of Aquaman ever. You know, I think I've discovered the reason why I didn't watch all these new 52 movies when they first came out. It's because all the ones I did end up seeing left me this frustrated. Now, before I go any further, I'm hoping to get to my first 100 subscribers before I finish this series. I know 100 subscribers doesn't sound like much, but it would be a great milestone to achieve with this series. If I make it to 100 before I get to Apocalypse War, I'll add Constantine's City of Demons to the list. If for no other reason than this is a character that deserves more attention, so thank God he seems to be getting it. So if you love Constantine or just want to help me out, click subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll start work on that as soon as I get to my first 100. Now, I've already covered why I think Aquaman doesn't work as a character and has never worked in my previous Aquaman video, so I'll try not to retread a lot of ground here, but as much as I thought that film didn't work, at least I didn't want to scream at those characters for how hypocritical, selfish, and/or boring they were being. Since the general reaction to this movie when it came out was a resounding meh, you might be wondering how it could have frustrated me this much. Well, allow me to enlighten you. So, much like an equally flawed but infinitely more enjoyable Aquaman film, we begin on a submarine, and...
Is that your son?
Yes, sir. He used to play with a toy submarine I gave him, but not anymore.
Well, not all heroes wear capes.
This guy's had it. Nobody starts talking about a loving family if they're not due to be axed off very, very soon.
SOS! This is the SS California. We are under attack. I only hope someone is...
And there it is. Oh no, that character I care so much about is dead. Oh no. Oh, more Victor. Now, I loved this character in War, so I'm very glad to see more of him. He's getting some upgrades from cute doctor lady.
As long as I have my brain and heart intact, I'll be all right.
Okay, well, I guess I'll check you later.
Yeah, do that. Way to go, Stone.
Aww.
Incoming call from Silas Stone.
Ignore.
Also aw. So after that distinctly hopeful ending in Justice League War, it seems that...
The others? They don't really come in. At all. There is no Justice League.
So we cut away from that very interesting character development to join these two. And mostly what they say here boils down to, oh, woe is me, I'm an outsider, I'm so lonely. But after the behaviour you two displayed in War, I really don't care. Ew, 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 skip, skip, skip. So we finally get to our main character who is depressed about his father's death, talking to a lobster and being stalked by two separate people.
We're talking.
It doesn't matter what way you spin that, it's still stupid. So stupid, in fact, that this movie doesn't address it ever again after he sets the lobster free. So what was the point in bringing it up in the first place? And we have another potential member of the Justice League who thinks with his fists. Yay. But, you know, his dad just died, so let's cut him some slack and see if he gets better. He doesn't. Very inconspicuous disguise there, Mira. Truly masterful. You were so lucky that was a bar full of drunks. I mean, imagine a woman in a bar, huddled in a corner with that coat and hat. She would draw more attention than the drunk guy talking to the lobster. Tell me I'm wrong. Christ, Mira, you are a dummy, aren't you? Meanwhile,
Under the sea.
Cyborg discovers the submarine and accesses the security footage, but the files have been corrupted, and he is attacked by something mysterious.
Servos damaged. Suggest retreat.
So after Cyborg gets back to safety and tries to assemble the Justice League, these, heroes are apparently screening their calls. World's finest, ladies and gentlemen.
Race you to headquarters? We have a headquarters?
These are the protectors of our world. Okay, I know they're creating more flawed heroes here, and I'm totally all for that, but did you really have to make them this deplorable? You all saved the world from a greater threat than any of you could have handled on your own. You saved each other's lives, and when one of you calls asking for help, you can't even be bothered to skip date night? Are you freaking kidding me?
To hide in plain sight as one of them.
Not hide as much as be one of them.
The difference eludes me.
I hate you two. I hate you so much.
We're not like anyone.
They are really trying to justify this relationship by pushing the idea that Clark and Diana are outsiders, therefore they should be outsiders together. Because 1, that's a good message. 2, that's a wonderfully healthy basis for a relationship. Also, Clark is not this much of an outsider. He has been on Earth since he was a baby. His parents are human, his friends are human, his co-workers are human. And he's here pissing and moaning about how much of an outsider he is and how he needs to blend in. I've bitched about this before when talking about how directors don't understand comics, but I'll say it again. Superman is the opposite of Batman in the sense that despite being an all-powerful alien, Superman is his mask. Clark Kent is who he really is. And here we have Diana, who instead of looking in affectionate wonder at this new world, talking to people, making friends, educating herself, says, "Oh, these strange creatures, they baffle me so." Also, hey, dummies. The glasses are there to keep you from being identified in your hero personas. But this scene, unless I'm reading it totally wrong, seems to suggest that they're there to hide their species. Oh, the dumb just keeps on coming, and I've focused on this for too long, so...
Smallville, is that you?
Oh, thank you, Lois, you're a freaking angel. So Cyborg and Shazam show up, and Superman and Wonder Woman actually decide to get off their ass. But we are still down a member.
It's Batman. He doesn't answer hails.
Well, at least one of the Trinity is in character. So Hal goes off to find him, essentially gets told to fuck off, helps Batman with his arrest, which...
I didn't need them caught, I needed them scared.
Doesn't help. So now that the Justice League are finally assembled, Cyborg does a little virtual reality and they actually manage to work as a cohesive team and analyse it to figure out that he was attacked by Atlanteans.
These carvings, I recognize them. From the tales of Atlantis I read as a girl.
That's a fairy tale.
I believe you.
Of course he does.
Yeah, Billy, any other time I'd call you a brat, but you are totally right here.
Superman and I will go question Dr. Shin.
When did we vote him team leader?
Ever since you lost any leadership qualities that would make any decent rational person want to follow you. See Justice League War for more on that. So Batman and Superman go to question the scientist, and the mission is essentially...
Find Atlantis.
Should be a piece of cake. Meanwhile...
You were right to strike first and strike quickly, my liege.
My mother will not see it as such.
And much like the 2018 Aquaman movie, instead of giving Orm some redeemable features, laying out his point of view properly, or giving him any kind of nuance whatsoever, they just say, "Hey audience, look, he's a jerk and he really wants to attack the surface. You live on the surface. That makes him automatically the bad guy." And we don't have to put any more work into his character than that. Did we mention he's a jerk? Like in the live-action movie, they do mention pollution, but it's very clearly framed as just an excuse for Orm's aggression and not something any leader would, and in Atlantis' case, should be concerned about. I hate when the writers of a story are so lazy that they treat the audience like they're children when it comes to villainizing the villains. Hey kids, which one of these is the bad guy? This is okay with characters like Darkseid. Of course it is better if your intergalactic threat has some kind of nuance, but I am willing to accept that sometimes a conqueror is just a conqueror. But this is the brother of the main character, and you are so lazy that you couldn't be bothered to characterize him as anything other than a smarmy git who wants to attack the surface out of spite. And don't tell me that you wrote that it was because he blamed them for his father's death. If you had given even the teeniest, tiniest emotional weight to that motivation, I might have been inclined to cut you some slack, but you didn't. You told. You didn't show. In these movies, I've seen more abysmal character writing, but I have never seen character writing as lazy as this in my whole life. And I sincerely hope this is as lazy as it gets. So Orm has an argument with his mother, who seems to despise his very existence, and that would have been some interesting character development for both of them if you had had the balls or frankly the imagination to explore it. But no. You, in your infinite talent, decided to frame these two sour-faced cows as totally in the right and Orm totally in the wrong, so of course she's justified in treating her child like she wished she'd had a headache the night he was conceived. It also seems like she has very little sympathy or even patience for her son's grief over his father's death. This is what makes me root for the villains sometimes when I'm clearly not supposed to. I got the same issue with Thor. The writer's only efforts to make the villain in the wrong is to make them act like a bit of a dick, while failing to realise that in terms of actions, the heroes are just as despicable. And I'm just going to steal a clip from my last Aquaman review.
He has always been a problem child coddled by his father, unsuitable for the throne.
Well, maybe his father wouldn't have felt as though he had to if you weren't such a cold bitch. And show me he is unsuitable. Don't tell me. So she orders Mera to bring Arthur to her, despite the fact that she has been told that he is not ready, and viciously beat the shit out of several people.
He will learn at my side, Mera. Bring him to me at once.
What gives you cause to believe that he will learn any better than his brother? Because he is a good person, and he came out of the right vagina. There's literally nothing else you need to be a successful leader. If your plan is to teach your heir how to lead, why not give some of that attention to Orm? And this is where my gripe with Aquaman as a character, as well as all stories about royalty, other than Game of Thrones when it was smart, comes from. There is this fictional monarch equation that all great leaders must fit into, and it is so naively laughable that it never ever applies in the real world. So this doesn't come across as her making sensible decisions about a successor for the good of her kingdom. It looks like she is irresponsibly playing favourites with her kids. God, I hate this woman. But once again, the writers don't have the courage to make one of their heroes a bad parent. Explicitly, anyway. Meanwhile, Arthur is having a flashback about meeting his mother, and did anyone else realise that we are 25 minutes into a 70-minute movie and we have barely seen our main character? Maybe that's because he's as dull as dishwater. Seriously, you think Orm is lazy? Rewatch this movie and tell me anything about Arthur that is not dead father, absent mother, talks to fish. So it is explained to us that one of Arthur's stalkers is a scientist studying Atlantis and working for Black Manta. Who is Black Manta, you ask? Well, I'm going to tell you about as much as the movie did. Oh, were you expecting anything? He kills the scientist and comes after Arthur, who is saved by Mera. I guess I'm in love now. Back with Batman and Superman, they investigate the scientist.
I am an investigative reporter, you know.
Journalism's dead.
Burn! So Orm and several other Atlantean nobles try to appeal to Atlanta, but because she played house on the surface with a nice human man for a few years, she's like, make nice with them.
But my queen, our traditions.
Fuck the traditions. So yeah, she basically says, screw what the rest of you want, and calls for a liaison with the Justice League. Not the United Nations, not NATO, not G20, the Justice League. Despite the fact that, as was stated before,
there is no Justice League.
Stellar politics.
Meanwhile,
she believes you are our future and can forestall war and bridge the two worlds.
She has reason to believe this. Why?
She doesn't even know her son. What makes her think he is qualified to lead a people he has no knowledge of? This makes it even more of a certainty that she has been planning this since she left and has had no intention of nurturing any other children she had.
I know I'm reading into this and this is almost definitely not what the writers intended, but how else am I supposed to take this?
This woman is awful. So Mera shows him the magical armor.
Now it is yours.
What has he done to deserve it? Now, I thought Son of Batman was frustrating, but at least the frustration was mostly isolated to Damien's character. I have completely lost my patience for this movie and we're only halfway through.
Thankfully, we get a sweet little scene where Cyborg is shown to be turning into a workaholic like his father, and Billy playfully nudging him to ask out cute Doctor Lady. Why is a character with as little screen time as this getting more development and humanity than the main character? Not that I'm complaining, mind you, because all the primary characters in this movie are horrendously boring or just horrendous people, and I would much rather spend time with Hal, Barry, Billy, and Victor.
You look perfect.
Okay, add that to the list. Good heart, right vagina, looks totally hot in the clothes of a guy who used to be king.
We mercifully get a few seconds of humanity as Arthur is overwhelmed by all of this. And by a few seconds, I literally mean a few seconds, because then they are attacked by trenchers sent by Manta, and the Justice League come to help.
They make an attempt to justify Arthur being king, and I can't decide if it's more or less pitiful than the one they tried in the live-action movie, but it's definitely pitiful.
Atlantis thirsts for a new perspective. Someone who understands the surface world and will lead us into the next century.
Honestly, Atlantis doesn't seem to be thirsting for anything but safety and clean water, at least as far as its people are concerned. The Queen is literally the only person that wants him. It would be more honest if you said, you need to be king because you're the Queen's favourite son, but I have no training in politics. But you're the Queen's favourite son. But I know nothing about Atlantis. But you're the Queen's favourite son. I'm clearly severely depressed right now, but you are the Queen's favourite son. I really don't know how clearer I can make that. So Orm confronts Atlanta and she admits no fault.
I deny nothing, Orm.
Makes no appeals to Orm as his mother.
You will pay for your treachery!
And she wonders why he's so intent on honouring his father.
You didn't honour him when he was alive.
Both cruel and untrue.
Is it? Is it?
Your mother met and fell in love with your father. That union resulted in your birth, that she was promised to our king.
Is it? I hate this woman.
She tells Orm she knows he plotted and staged the attacks, but at this point, I don't care. Please get rid of her. Thank you. And good for you, Orm. Good for you. Arthur is on his way to meet his mother.
So tell me, what's she like?
Trust me, you are better off not knowing. They find out that Orm killed Atlanta, and
there is not enough sad music in the world to make me feel bad about that.
And the battle starts. And funnily enough, even though there is around 25 minutes to go, there isn't much more I can tell you. Orm tries to invade the surface, and it looks like he's winning until Cyborg broadcasts Orm's confession that he killed his mother, Arthur takes the trident and says, "I'm your king now," and Atlantis is like, "'Kay." Total randomer who was raised in a lighthouse has no knowledge of our culture, our history, our people, or politics in general. We are set. Arthur is welcomed into the Justice League and presumably becomes the best king ever because the fictional monarch equation adds up every time.
Sorry I talked so little about what was actually going on, but something I've realised is that it's not really worth talking about the plot of these New 52 movies. They're all pretty much cookie-cutter superhero stuff. The really interesting parts come from the characters, either how good they are or how bad they are. I hope I already made myself clear about how ridiculous I find Aquaman in general, mostly because of how stupid just picking up a randomer and putting him in the throne is bloodline or no bloodline. No Aquaman movie or comic has managed to justify it to me yet, and this attempt might just be the worst.
Arthur is boring as sin. He ironically seems to be the part of the movie the writers put the least amount of effort into. Atlanta was my least favourite character here, and
come to think of it, these movies are producing a lot of characters I don't just dislike, I downright hate. There aren't actually that many characters I come across that I feel this negatively towards, but that is 4 detestable characters, and we are only 4 movies in.
The reason I hold Orm and Atlanta to different standards than I would other characters is because they live in a different world, and I don't mean they live in Atlantis, I mean they are absolute monarchs.
I suppose your reactions could be based on whether you subscribe to the West Wing view of politics or the House of Cards view of politics. Do you subscribe to the Lord of the Rings view of absolute monarchy or the Game of Thrones view of absolute monarchy? For me, it may seem cynical, but there is no conceivable way to gain and or maintain that level of power without doing horrendous things. But at the same time, that does not negate your ability to do good.
Basically, the idea that Arthur will be better than Orm because he is a stand-up guy is laughable to me and makes me lose all respect for Atlanta as a leader, a parent, and a person. And what bothers me about all the versions of this character is that no one ever talks about how selfish and irresponsible it was for her to get into a relationship with and get pregnant by a man she had no chance of being with, especially since she was engaged to someone else.
Now, power doesn't come for free. There are some sacrifices you have to make, like privacy, who to marry, how to conduct yourself, or even the decision on the exact way in which you raise your children.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And she just shit all over her responsibility. And there are people going, "Oh, the poor queen, she doesn't get to marry who she loves. Woe is her." Seriously, this is writing for children. The heroes are in bright colours, the villains are in dark colours, and as long as we keep telling our audience who's who, we don't have to think about their actions at all. Oh, this hero cheated on her fiancé, but that's okay because she was in love. Forget that it could have destroyed alliances and led to anything from political strife to economic struggle to war. It's okay because she was in love. Oh, this hero treats her son like shit. Well, that's okay because he's a meanie who sympathises more with his late father's politics, and I wonder why. Oh, this hero is a probably moderately educated lighthouse keeper. Well, he is going to make the perfect king and bring about the biggest alliance that this planet has ever seen because he's a nice person. This isn't the fault of the writers of this movie. This is a problem that Aquaman has at its core. Throne of Atlantis just managed to make the stupidity more apparent than any other iteration I've seen.
So yeah, Arthur is boring, Orm is underdeveloped, Manta is not even a little bit developed, Atlanta is awful, Mera is nothing more than Atlanta's yes man, The politics are laughably naive, and the only people worth caring about are the Justice League members we already know. You know, it feels to me as though we've been getting steadily worse as the movies go on, and keeping that trend in mind, I'm pretty sure you guys can tell me who the star of the next movie is.